In all perfect marriages created in fairy tales, couples never fight and never hurt each other. However, real life is not a fairy tale. In real marriages, there are arguments, quarrels, and misunderstandings which grow and take form as fights. Oscar and Hilary are a newly married young couple that do not have a good financial background. They often argue about money matters, and also the circle of friends they both mix with. The lack of mutual understanding in their marriage causes both of them to get frustrated easily. Their quarrels were so frequent that it caused disturbances and frustrations for their neighbors. Oscar works as a sales assistant and is often frustrated by his low-paying job. To cope with his stress, Oscar regularly drinks in excess, which causes him to be an alcoholic and also a night owl. Eventually, he becomes a hot-tempered man that easily rages and is very sensitive. Although being the breadwinner, Oscar failed at being a good husband, and he often neglects his wife, Hilary. Hilary is a housewife, and she is extremely unhappy about Oscar's alcoholic habits. Hilary feels that her husband is always neglecting her as he often returns home late. She cries herself to sleep almost every night, feeling insecure and lonely. Inevitably, she suffers from depression and minor mental illnesses. She was left with no other choice but to take an extensive quantity of antidepressants and tranquilizers to cope with her illness. One day, a day like any other, Oscar was walking home at midnight after overtiming at work. However, Oscar was having a throbbing headache that put him in a terrible mood. He behaved so crudely that he got into a dispute with his neighbor for kicking his neighbor's dog. The neighbor was really offended by Oscar's act and wanted an apology from him. Oscar's headache only got worse throughout the argument, and he decided to ignore the neighbor and return home. Once Oscar got home, he was fairly surprised to see Hilary waiting for him in the living room, as she normally would be asleep by midnight. Hilary got up and scolded him for returning home late again. Oscar hurriedly clarified that he had to work overtime, and his boss would not allow him to return home despite having a headache. However, Hilary insisted that he was lying, and didn't want to acknowledge his explanation. In fact, she even told him that she planned to get a divorce soon. Hilary was so sick and tired with all the quarreling that she couldn't tolerate being with him anymore. He begged Hilary for forgiveness. However, Hilary refused to forgive him and walked away. Oscar's headache had become even worse than before. He quickly took some medication, hoping it would stop the aching. Feeling disheartened and hopeless, he left home and went to the nearest shop to get some alcohol. Oscar decided to walk to the park nearby. He rested on a bench, hoping to calm his mind. Oscar was still very disheartened and decided to drown his sorrows in alcohol. He kept on drinking and eventually passed out. The very next day, on a stormy morning, Oscar was found dead in the neighborhood. At the crime scene, the police carried out an investigation. The case was unsolved at the time, and his cause of death remained unknown. The police had provisionally listed Oscar's death as an unexplained death. How did Oscar die? Was it an accidental death? Did he commit suicide out of depression, or was he murdered? If so, did Hilary murder him out of agony? After witnessing this story in a third-person perspective, try making a smart guess about Oscar's cause of death by identifying the hints in the story.